He won a Kimura on really soft ground.
A Gold Cup winner and a Kimura, Gavin. Come on now.
Yeah, okay. I'll take that one.
I was deflated, when the news broke. Obviously, what he'd done at Sutherland, he showed, his class and his ability, and that's kind of what we would have believed was there, and I suppose lots of people had forgotten.
Do you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'll stick with my own fella.
Hello and welcome back to Inside Track Ireland, our brand new weekly racing podcast brought to you by William Hill, the best value bookmaker. It is me, Jane Mangan, and my able deputy, Barry Geraghty, to talk all things Irish racing. Barry, we're at the time of record around 11 days out from the Supreme, the Champion Hurdle, and everything else that comes with the Cheltenham Festival. It's a lovely time of year.
It is, yeah. Everything's building up brilliantly. But there's lots of moving plates, if you like. There's a lot of decisions yet to be made, so it's there's a good bit still up in the air.
Before we get going, make sure you've downloaded the William Hill app. It's super easy. It's efficient. Head on over to the App Store now, and let's get on with the show. Yeah, since we last spoke, we saw and we read the news about Narciso Haas. He was I suppose as soon as I said he was my banker for the Cheltenham Festival, it was inevitable that he was going to get an injury and be knocked out. I suppose trainers, and you'll know this from riding work, this time of year, the final pieces of the puzzle being put together, you're kind of holding your breath that nothing goes wrong.
Absolutely, and every trainer is that way. Because like as you're turning the screw for that final piece, that's where the cracks start to show. So it's that's the pressure that's on, and it's to get to that top level, to get to the your peak. You're pressing the button, and some get found out, and it's tricky, and I suppose lots of sleepless nights for lots of trainers all over Britain and Ireland.
Yeah, and owners as well. I'd say when you find the pressing the final button, I always think of people saying that term. That's when there can be a frailty exposed, an illness, an injury, or just not being on form. So hopefully all of our fancies and the people who are listening, that they get there to the Cheltenham Festival in one piece. It's worth mentioning later on in this podcast, we are going to be joined by William Hill ambassador Gavin Cromwell, who has a team of over 20 horses assembled for the festival. He's won 8 races at the Cheltenham Festival, Barry. It's actually hard to believe because Gavin is a young man. He's not been training all that long in terms of, I suppose, the perspective of top horses. And he's had a champion hurdle winner. He's won the Stairs twice. He's won the Gold Cup. He's a little bit like Henry de Bromhead. They go into the Cheltenham Festival and we're all talking about Nicky and Paul and Willie and Gordon. He's one to have on side, isn't he?
He definitely is, and he does fly under the radar a little bit. But like he does well in handicaps too, and he's well known for that. On his raids, but also at home in Ireland. But to have won the champion hurdle, 2 Stairs hurdles, and a Gold Cup, that puts him on the top level, and he's well proven. So no, it's going to be great to get Gavin's thoughts.
Yeah, looking forward to getting him on. Now, he is a man of few words, so for the people at home, we will do our best to extract as much information as we can. He can be tight-lipped because he's, I'd imagine, feeling the pressure this time of year. We last spoke, Barry, when we were wondering what Constitution Hill would do at Southwell. Now we all know what he did at Southwell, and we know he won't be running over hurdles again. Are you surprised by that? Are you disappointed by that? Give us your thoughts.
I won't say I'm disappointed, but I was deflated, when the news broke. Obviously, what he'd done at Sutherland, he showed, his class and his ability, and that's kind of what we would have believed was there, and I suppose lots of people had forgotten that all that ability was there. So you were excited on the back of that, and then it was deflating. But the last thing in the world you'd want would be the horse to go and take heavy fall, and the worst might happen. So obviously his schooling didn't fill with confidence. So the decision was made, and it made for the right reasons, I think, is the most important thing. It was, as I say, deflating, but I wouldn't put it down as disappointing. Disappointing would have been a worse result, and there was always a chance of that. So it's a pity. He's a special horse, and I can't wait to see what he does and where he goes from here, really.
I actually do concur with that. I for some reason I never believed he was going to run over hurdles again, regardless of what he did in Southwell. So I was really satisfied, I suppose is the word, proud of what he did in Southwell, because he's a 9-year-old. People will say, oh, these good jumpers, they don't have the speed. Class horses are class horses. Now, I can see why you got him beaten a point to point, Barry, but he has an awful lot of options now. Like people will say Ascot Gold Cup because that's the stairs race that everybody can think of off the top of their head. But races like, Wicklow Brave won an Irish St. Leger, or a Prix de Cadran, which was effectively a Group 3 standard race last year.
Yeah, those are the two races I suppose that I'd be looking at towards the end of the season. But 2 mile is as far as he leaned to go on the flat. I'd imagine. He's you saw the pace he showed over a mile and a half on Suddle. He's not necessarily a dour stayer, so I'd say 2 miles as far as they want, especially when he would have his preferred conditions being on the easy side of good. And that's going to be important. So you could forget about Royal Ascot because you're not going to have him in training all summer in the hope that you get slow ground at Ascot and look at your options then. So they'll have to give him a break mid season and look again at the autumn. So you'd know the flat race program better than me, but I'm sure there's nice targets for him in the spring, maybe a little break, and then look at the like of the Irish St. Leger, the Prix de Cadran, those races. So you'd have a better idea of those, but easy ground in the autumn. At a stay-in trip, but not necessarily a marathon trip.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Nicky Henderson started thinking already of giving him a break with a view to the autumn, because that's where there's a real program for stairs. And you're right. I don't know if any of our listeners have been to Ascot in recent years, but it's bloody hot and the ground is really quick. So anyway, we digress. We digress. He won't be in the champion hurdle. There will be a few in the champion hurdle. Will Lossiemouth be in the champion hurdle now?
Maybe. Obviously, she has that option of the mayor's race, and if she goes for the mayor's race, that maybe means that she's not exciting them to the level that they'd like. I'm not fully convinced she turned up at her best in the DRF. She was very laboured through the race. She travelled better for me behind Constitution Hill in Kempton the Christmas before on better ground, where she should have been found out. So I don't think we saw her at her best, and for the same reason, Brighter Days Ahead is a very smart filly, but there's still a question mark for me with her still. And likewise, the new line is only a length up on last year's winner, Golden Ace, when he fell at the last at Newcastle. And I think Newcastle would be more his track than hers. Yeah, so she's been to Cheltenham twice. She's won twice. It draws me back to Golden Ace, and I think at the prices, I don't think she's much to find with the two ahead of her in the market.
I'm kind of getting the same vibe. Now, that's a very boring selection from me, but it's because I don't trust the new Lions jumping. I think he's very good, but he's still at Cape Tara, and beating Final Demand and the Yellow Clay last year. I don't know. I just don't know if I believe it. Brighter Days Ahead for me is the best horse in the race, but she's gone to Cheltenham twice and has burnt me twice. Do I commit myself to a third burn? I don't know. There's money for Paneras, but Paneras and Amsterdam, just not for me this year. It's not a vintage race. Is that fair to say?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, of course. It's going to be competitive, but I think competitive because it might lack a star. But whoever wins it will celebrate it, and it'll be a great occasion for them. So it's a tricky one. It's hard to look past those 3 or 4 at the head if Lossiemouth happen to join them. Amsterdam has been well beaten. But I say even the new Lion, he beat Nemi on Lion the last time. It's not exciting form. So it's probably not the most exciting race at the festival this year, but
Where's
we'll still try
Spaceman
and
when
pick
you
one
need
up.
him? Anyway, we won't go down that road. Since we last spoke as well, Barry, the Cheltenham weights for the handicaps have been published. There's when those figures drop, it's like all of the nerds in our industry just go into a cave for like 3 days, and they come up with like real left field selections. And one of the races that I'm most fascinated in is the Fred Winter, because there's like such limited evidence to go on, even though Cheltenham brought in that rule that you need a minimum of 4 runs over hurdles to get a mark. Talk to me about horses that caught your eye with a view to the handicaps, because there's a lot to digest there.
Oh, there is, and you can make so many cases, and like the Fred Winter to me is a minefield because you've
Did you ever win
youngsters and you
it?
don't know who's going to. Did I ever win it? No, that one got away on me.
I like
Yeah,
that you had to think
unfortunately.
about that, but okay.
Yeah, and will I win it this year with something? I'm not fully convinced. We'll wait and see. But what did catch me was I thought Work Ahead. He's up £3. He's one other entry at Cheltenham, but that's in the champion hurdle. He's a very smart horse. We haven't seen much of him, but he was second to Stormheart at in the Red Mills at Goran last time on heavy ground. I think he will be. He's better on better ground. He beat William Money in his maiden hurdle by 7 lengths before disappointing by Cup the boards at the festival last year. So he is a good horse. I think he could be well enough in at 148 in the county. So he's my interesting one there.
I think Henry de Bromhead is just going to remind us all, I'm still here. And he's going to have 2 or 3 winners like he does every year at the Cheltenham Festival. He kind of goes out of form after Christmas, and it's like he gives the horses a break or something. And then I have a very strong fancy for one of his that I'll mention later on. But you're right. Work Ahead is coming in here sleeping. Get a mark of 148. That's like 11.5, 11.6 territory. It's a good race, but he's probably a graded horse.
Well, I'd say Henry thought he was a great horse last year, obviously, and his maiden hurdle form would suggest that he is. And the fact he has an entry in the champion hurdle, you have to take note of it. So that's what they think he is, somewhere near that level. So I think 148 county hurdle he would do for me. Yeah, the other one I thought was Blaze the Way was a good winner in Cheltenham back in December. Beat Lahon Press. Obviously, Lahon Press for them was second to Spillans Tower, so the form worked so well. He also had Hercules Westwood and the Dian Chief behind him that day, and both have gone on to win since. There was an £8 higher mark for that. And he did disappoint last time in Argento Boy in Nace, but that wasn't heavy ground. So I think there was probably only good experience to get for him because he has limited experience. But to me, I thought he was a horse really well placed. He has an entry in the Ultima. He's also in the plate, but I would have thought the trip in the Ultima would be better suited for him. So I think he's an interesting one at a fancy price.
Yeah, he's been mentioned at a number of the previews as well. There's a lovely little few nuggets you pick up at the previews, and he's definitely getting repeated a few times. I'll give you my 2. They're very token effort now at this stage because these handicaps are quite precarious. One is Put Your Hands Together. He won the Fred Winter last year off 130. He was thrown in. He's mid 140s now. I think he's rated 146. He's been out of form. It's just like something that might happen that he might just spring back to form. I think he needs probably better ground than he's encountered this winter, and he's coming in fresh. I think Joseph O'Brien's going to run a handful, and I'm not going to be against too many of his handful that run. And the other one that will definitely run in the Fred Winter is Winston Jr. So all of the talk is about JP's Saratoga, and understandably so, given how that race at Nace often throws up the winner. And he's a brother to Brazil, so it's a little bit obvious that he'd be a short odds for this race. But Winston Jr., his penultimate run at Cheltenham, he was too keen, flashed home. He kind of got his act together. They rode a more positive at Ascot last time. I think he got £6 for that. He's running off 131. I just think he's if he ran in the Triumph, I think he'd finish in the 3.
Yeah, interesting choices, Jen. You actually beat me into the WhatsApp group when we were putting in our selections for the handicapped. Put Your Hands Together. You're just in ahead of me on that one. So no, I thought coming on the back of that win in the Cesarewitch, obviously a little bit disappointing when he can hamper behind Zelo, but to me would look like the right kind of profile stepping up in trip. So you were just beat me to that
I
one.
was on my
Jen. Well
phone.
done.
That's all I'd
Hopefully.
say. I was just on my phone. I was ready for it. But I'm not going to ask you to tip. We can tip for them for the handicaps, but it's a little bit presumptuous when we really do not know what the opposition are, right? So that's a little bit foolish. We'll do that closer to the Cheltenham Festival. But with the grade 1s, we have a better idea. Tell me, in one of the championship races like the Stairs or the Gold Cup, do you have a strong selection? Let's do a lucky 15. Let's do a lucky 15. Do you have a horse for one of the championship races?
I do. And he's a horse I was sweet on. He disappointed last time at Christmas, but he was a nose behind Tiupu in the Hatton's Grace, was Ballyburn. Obviously, he won the Turners 2 seasons ago, and he was the next coming, beating Jimmy Desai by 13 lengths. He disappointed behind Tiupu at Christmas. He was 13 lengths third there. He never travelled. He looked lackluster all the way. So you could see from an early stage that it wasn't the Teahupoo you saw, or it wasn't the Ballyburn we saw in Ferryhouse. And in Ferries, he had to overcome a lot of traffic. He had a lot of hassle on the day with other runners and whatnot. It was also his first run back, which he was going to improve from. He was beating Teahupoo, who was really good fresh. So I think he had a good bit against him. I would have expected improvement from there. But I had the pleasure of the company of next week's guest who's going to join us is David Casey. And he led me to believe, albeit the chat is for him to go for the champion hurdle, that he's more likely to go for the stairs. So he's back on my radar for the stairs, and I think he could be good value because he's a horse who has a big engine. We saw it early in the season in the Hatton's Grace. We didn't see it at Christmas, but I think we could see it again at the festival.
I'm looking forward to that chat. David Casey, he's had a great career as a rider. He's an absolute mind of information. He's a great judge. He's in the heart of the biggest nucleus in racing, national racing. Okay, so that's next week. We won't get too into that now. And okay, so he's for the stairs. I can see your logic. I just don't know if he stays. We'll see. Sober. You put forward Sober for the Supreme. Explain, or for the Turners, is it?
For the Turners, yeah. So like there's I suppose there's a lot of horses that are unconfirmed. Mighty Park is head of the market for the Turners, but there's talk he could go for the Supreme. There's horses with double entries in both those novice races. Sober's obviously a winner of the Queen Alexandra with a mark of 104 on the flat, and that was in fast ground. He wasn't overly impressive when he won his maiden down in Killarney. I didn't really fancy him for the Moscow Flyer on really soft ground, and then he put in up a strong performance to beat Road Exile. Jumped much better. I think his jumping would improve again. To me, he's rock solid. Obviously, he proved that day he would go on very versatile on ground. But just with the potential he has of that quality coming from the flat, his jumping has improved on his previous run. I think will improve again. To me, I think he's a good player, a big player at a fancy price in the Turners.
Did I ever tell you my Sober story?
No, you didn't actually, Jen.
No, I was sitting in the car park last year at Ascot, second last day. Queen Alexandra's the last race on the last day, isn't it? And Willie was after having a winner, as he does. And he was just kind of sitting on the bonnet of a car, and I just walked over and I was like, well done. He's like, yeah, thanks very much. I said, well, what about tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, he'll win too. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's a lot of weight. Won't matter. Okay. So that was Sober, and he was true to his word. And Ryan Moore probably won by too far and destroyed his mark for the Melbourne Cup. But it's Cheltenham. Let's concentrate on what's in front of us. So I'm going to go with a novice as well for my lucky 15. I'm going to go with the big Westerner, the Mayor. I loved what Gavin did last year with Only by Night. Not going for the Mares when Only by Night was a novice, and she nearly won the Arkle. This mare stays. She's a class jumper. I thought she was unlucky in the mare's novice last year when she met traffic in running. I know she'll need an ease in the ground, but I don't think it's going to come up quick. Am I mad to think that she'll beat the Geldings?
No, definitely not. No, she's solid form. She's a big scopy mare too. So, I think she can progress further over a fence than she did over a hurdle. Like the likelihood the ground is going to be on the soft side. But I know it's a long way away, and it will dry massively potentially if you got good weather between here and then. Days are getting longer, but it is still more likely to be on the soft side. So no, I think she's a good shout in a race that looks very open and probably hinges on Final Demand whether he can turn up on an A game or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go Henry Bromhead and I presume Darragh O'Keefe in the Brown Advisory with the big Westerner, and I'm going to go with Galopin Deschamps from the Gold Cup. And I have to explain myself because everybody will be like, oh, what a boring selection. Well, I certainly thought last year that it was his coronation year. 12 months on, everybody's thinking he's completely gone. I don't think he actually ran bad in his 2 races at Leopardstown, having not had a good preparation through the autumn. I think some of Willie's were underperforming, and I sat next to David Casey, who again we'll be talking to next week on the podcast, at a preview, and he said he's back. And I said, well, are you going to put cheek pieces on him? And he said, 3 weeks ago, I would probably have put cheek pieces on him, but now I don't think we will. So that spoke volumes to me that the horse is obviously bombing, and with the prospect of an ease in the ground and a big field and everybody looking elsewhere, it's like that's when he'd win his 3rd Gold Cup.
I think you could be on the money, Jen. I'm sweetening him too, for all of those reasons. But the performance he put in Punchestown, having disappointed in last year's Gold Cup, like that said to me, you could nearly draw a line through the Gold Cup, and he still had that high level of form that we expect going into Cheltenham last year. So no, the vibes are very good in him, and I think he's yeah, he to me holds the strongest level of form going into the race on the back of that Punchestown win last season.
Yeah, everybody loves potential and youth and what could be instead of knowing what we actually know. And the Galopin Champ is probably the best staying chaser we've seen since Cato Star, in my opinion, humble opinion. Feel free to put in comments on under the YouTube channel of absolutely berating that opinion. William Hiller, now non-runner, money back on all 28 races at the Cheltenham Festival, so you can bet safe in the knowledge that if your horse doesn't turn up at the festival, you will be getting your money back. I think that now is a nice segue to bring in our guest, Barry, the reigning Gold Cup winning trainer, Gavin Cromwell. Let's get him on and get his thoughts. Gavin Cromwell, we're 11 days out from the Tuesday of Cheltenham. How are you feeling?
Not too bad. I'm happy enough now. The horses they're sparking, and starting to look forward
That's
to it.
a thing we must touch on. Obviously, there's been a question mark about the form through the season. Are you happy that they're now after turning a corner with the spring in mind, particularly with you bringing a big Cheltenham contingent across the water?
Yeah, definitely. The last few weeks now, they're definitely bouncing. And listen, I suppose you don't know till they run. We don't have time to run them again. So it's just fingers crossed, and hopefully we have them
All
right.
the fingers will be crossed, particularly for I know the way you're thinking. There's been a lot of, I don't know about you, Barry, but I've been to a few Cheltenham preview nights. There's been a lot of murmurings about this horse returning to form. Something about a Navan Gallop going very well.
Or was it a fairy horse gallop? Gavin, you might confirm which, but I
Yeah,
believe there's
yeah,
green shoots.
yeah. He did a bit of work after racing in Fairyhouse last week and on Saturday, and went
Very
well.
happy. Okay, well, that's good. So we're on target for the Gold Cup. The reigning champ is going back. Right, so he has his work done. You have him, you think the spark is back. Can I ask, Gavin, why do you think he's underperformed this season?
Um, Difficult question to answer, Jane. Look, I suppose the yard definitely we didn't have the season we would have wished for. Horses certainly did underperform, and I suppose he's the one that really highlighted it. I was happy enough with the run in the John Durkin listen, he was beaten a long way, but it was a funny run race. They went helter skelter, and it was flat to the boards all the way. But he jumped really well and he stayed going well. But from there to Christmas, Christmas was a disaster. He just didn't show up at all, and we're completely on the back foot from that. And then DRF. I thought he actually was running an okay race. Had run an okay race, kind of down to, let's say, going to the second last. Got a bit tired up the straight, but I didn't mind that so much. And then disaster when he got a fall. But since that he hasn't missed a beat. Thankfully, he bound. He got up from his fall, and he hasn't turned back. To be fair, so hopefully we'll have one more bit of work to do before he goes to Cheltenham, and hopefully that's good.
And Gavin, have you done anything differently since, or is there just maybe the longer days, but the sun is back, being
No,
a spring horse, or?
we haven't, Barry. No. But you can see his coat has come now. I suppose when you look back at his past and his history, he seems to be a real spring horse, and maybe that's the case.
And just to add on that, though, being a spring horse, is better ground a help to him at the top level? Do you feel would you be afraid of a really soft ground Gold Cup?
Yeah, but listen, he won a Kim Muir on really soft ground.
Well handicapped
But
that.
listen,
Gold
yeah, I
Cup
know,
winner in a Kim Muir,
totally
Gavin.
different
Come
race.
on now.
Yeah, okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, listen, I don't think he wouldn't want it heavy, but he wouldn't want good ground too. He's not the quickest horse either, so he just wouldn't want to take him off his feet.
Well, it would be fantastic to see him back with the same verve as we saw last year, because he's such a young horse and he's so you've minded him. He's a lightly raced horse. But the Gold Cup this year looks like it's going to have a much bigger field than he beat last year, and it's probably deeper. I know he obviously had Galopin behind him, and he was the reigning champ. But I get the vibe from Clisutton. The Galopin is also coming back to where they want him to be. The British have a very strong team with Django Boy and the Jukebox Man. Throw in the prospect of, possibly having Gaelic Warrior in there, OT Calor with the pace angle. If you weren't participating in the race, which horse would you like to have in the yard?
Do you know what? I'm not even going to go there. I'll stick with my own fella. You can make a case for Plenty Jane. I appreciate that. But if Inothewayurthinkin is on his A game, he's going to take plenty of beating. I think he was a good winner of the race last year, and hopefully we can get him there in the same condition.
I like that, Barry. He's more confident than he's letting on.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a positive vibe from Gavin. But yeah, sure. Look, you have to stand by your horse too, I guess, Gavin.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's with plenty of horses here, but I have to say, no, most of my thoughts go into him.
Nothing like him.
It's been but look, it's been a difficult year with him, and we've been trying absolutely everything, and I suppose the long and the short of it is, he just came in his own time.
Well, the reality is, how good he is, and we saw that last year. So the ability's there if you can get it back. Most people, you're kind of hoping that you have it. You have it. At this stage, how many horses do you think you will travel to the Cheltenham Festival?
Give or take 20, I'd
Okay,
say.
so Barry, you take away a few there. Which of the 20 do you want to pick on?
Well, for me, obviously, we mentioned Inothewayurthinkin, but Stumptown last year was one of the cross country. He did brilliantly in the Pardubice, having nearly fallen at the Taxis. That to me says he's a horse who obviously really enjoys it, but I'd say there's still another bit of there's more scope there, I'd say.
Yeah. Listen, he's off a mark of 162. I'd say he'd be lapped in a conventional handicap chase off that mark, but he is obviously, I don't know how much better, but he's definitely more than a stone better in a cross country than he would be in a handicap chase. There's a lot of weight to obviously top weight, but giving weight away to some quite good horses, a lot of weight to them. So never easy, but of all the disciplines to give away weight, it's probably one that you can get away with.
Okay.
And his ground, soft ground, Gavin, would that be a key to him?
It would definitely be a benefit to him. He's a dour stayer. The more of a stamina test, the better.
Okay, and he's going to have support act. Is he in the cross country? Are you going to run 2 or 3 in that?
We'll have 3 in it. Yeah, Vanillier is. Listen, he won a Banks race a couple of weeks ago on Punchestown. He's 11 years of age, but he's in great form. He ran a great race in it last year. A little bit of navigation problems, but might have been a bit closer. But he's happy with him. He's in good nick. He would prefer a little ease in the ground. Listen, he's a slow horse that stays real well. And ground would be important, that it would be on the easier side for him. We also have final orders in there who would be the opposite to them with the ground. Good ground would be important, or nice ground would be important to him. He's a small horse by Camelot, small little feet, and he'd definitely appreciate nicer ground. He's going in there off the same mark he ran off on trials day, where the ground was quite soft and it probably found him out. He's had a little wind up since that, and I think he'd be a big player now if the ground is on the better side.
Interesting. Okay. There's a couple of very solid horses in across a number of races. I'm a big fan of Only by Night. I'm not convinced we've seen her show up this year. Is she going to go for the mares?
Yeah, she is. Listen, a lot of questions over whether she'll stay. when we went chasing first, her first run over fences was over 2 miles in Cork, and we thought it was going to be too sharp for her. We've always thought that she wanted 2.5, but she's such a quick jumper. She's been very effective at the 2 miles, and she was only touched off in the Arca last year, but so she's not a guaranteed stayer. But as I said initially, we thought she would appreciate that trip. So hopefully we're all right.
And Gavin, as regards the passing wife, I know that there's talk about options. Obviously, great run on the Royal Bond, disappointing way in Skylight Hustle, then at Leopardstown. What are your thoughts on him at the minute?
Yeah, probably it's not probably at all. Definitely made the wrong decision running them at Leopardstown and Christmas over the 2 miles. Should have waited for the Dollars and Ace, the 2.5. We have the option of supplementing them for the Albert Bartlett. Obviously 3 miles is unknown, but the way he raced the last day, very relaxed, very straightforward, simple horse. I think he should get the trip. And listen, if it brings about improvement, he's definitely going to be a player in it. So decision is not made. We'll wait till closer to the time, see what the ground is like. If it's going to be a real stamina test and proper soft ground, maybe we'll go Martin Pipe. So we'll wait and see. We don't have to supplement until the Saturday before, so we'll have a better idea then.
What would be the deciding factor? You mentioned ground, but he has near top weight for the Martin Pipe. What would be the deciding factor in supplementing?
Well, he actually is top weight in the Martin Pipe. If it was real test and ground and the Albert Bartlett, listen, I'm not saying it would stretch him, but it could be something to consider. And also, I suppose the closer we get to the race, the better an idea we'll have of what's going to run. And see if we're tempted to.
Barry and I will go around to the various preview nights and feed you back the information, so make the decision. We don't want to go through all of your team because you have a lot of them, but there's a couple of real, I suppose, talking horses. Tell me, is Flooring Porter going to run in the stairs?
Flooring Porter has met a setback and is not going to make Cheltenham.
Is he going to make Grand National?
He is not going to make the Grand
National.
National.
Is he out for the season?
And that is just he's just not going to make the Grand National. It's we've met a speed bump in the road, but listen, he's going to be fine. But it's just
that's the main thing. Very disappointed to hear that because he ran so well in the Cotswold Chase and looked like the fire was still burning. There's a couple more there, Barry, isn't there?
Yeah, well, 6.5 was very good there last year, and he just touched off. How do you feel she's shaping up this time around?
Yeah, she's I'm happy with her. She's in good shape. So listen, I don't know if she's well handicapped, but I think the county hurdle is definitely a race it's going to suit her, and I'd say nice ground would help her better.
Another horse for handicaps. Hello, Neighbour. He's been kind of forgotten about this year.
Yeah, he's. I thought he was sneaking in under the radar, but
he is. Nobody's talking about him.
Yeah. Listen, he's in good shape. He is a Grade 1 winner going back into a handicap. He is going to have plenty of weight, but he's in good shape, and I think he's going to be very suited to the race. He's a very slick jumper, strong traveller, which is very might help us with that one. But I would imagine would be a strength in the county hurdle.
Absolutely, you need a horse with pace, hold your position, just to find it easy. But it's obviously a good test. You need to stay well. So his profile, he would fit the bill, and I suppose it's how much you might feel he could have in hand, how much potential there is there.
Yeah, the last day at the DRF, the ground was obviously very soft, and he was a very strong traveller in his race, and he's such a slick jumper. He kept making ground, and Keith was trying to take him back. Bit of nicer ground, I'd say, would be ideal.
Yeah, it's Hello Neighbour in the county. Barry will note that down. Ballysacks Hank got a mark of 139 in the Grand Annual. Sure, that's grand, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. If it was 130, it'd be even better. But anyway, it's fine. Yeah, so listen, we're back to 2 miles. Well, we were 2 miles at the DRF as well, and and probably over travelled in that as well. It's hard to believe that we thought that we fancied him for a Paddy Power Christmas, but he didn't stay. Jumps very quick, and yeah, I think the trip and the race should be ideal for him.
I think, Barry, this is the part of the AGM where I ask you any other business.
No, and I suppose what else we have? Only Van Night.
Yeah,
We-
we mentioned her.
I thought that, yes.
Yeah.
I
Is
didn't
Spray
include her on the
Luminescence
room
the
there.
other mare? Is she going to run?
She's very ground dependent, Jane. She's also in the Leinster National, which is on the Sunday before. So listen, we'll wait till closer to the time, see what the ground is going to be like. She loves soft ground, so it's not looking like we're going to get that in Cheltenham. She could go to Leinster National.
Him for Nace. And Secret Force, would he be a dark horse in the Fred Winter?
Yeah, he's. I hope he gets in. I think he's starting to sharpen up, and actually schooled him this morning, and he was very good. I'd say he's very much on the border of whether he's going to get in or not. So hopefully he does.
And I remember standing down at the Gallops with you on the Tuesday morning of Cheltenham last year, and somebody put a question to you: who is your selection for the week from your yard? And you could have easily said Stumptown. You could have easily said a lesser light. You said, "I know the way you're thinking," and it came to fruition. So if I'm going to put the same question to you now, 11 days out from the festival, from your team, who is the one that you're most, I suppose, thinking that'll hit the back of the net?
Sure. Listen, I'll stick to my guns, and we'll stay with Inothewayurthinkin. But it does all hinge on the next 11 days.
Barry, he's 14-1 at the moment. That won't last long. This will
That's
go
right.
up.
No, and that's a strong vote of confidence.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Before we kick on into the weekend preview, Barry, I want to remind our listeners and our viewers that William Hill are offering a free €5 bet when you stake €10 on any race this weekend. The offer has now gone live, and it will be live until the end of the close of business on Sunday. So hopefully we will be racing in Navan in particular, because there's two very interesting races on that card. You're up that neck of the woods, subject to an inspection. Are we okay?
Yeah, so they're inspecting today, Friday at 2:00, and I spoke to Donald Curtis. So if anyone's familiar with Donald, he won 2 All-Ireland medals for Meath in 96 and 99. So he's
Is that the last time Meath won an All-Ireland?
Unfortunately, so 99. But we're on our way back, Jen. We're on our way back, so Meath and Cork both on their way back. So maybe
I don't know. We thought we were back last year. Here we are, still no trophy.
Well, sure, maybe you won't throw it away again this year.
The girls usually win. It's the boys that let us down.
Well, maybe so. But Donald is optimistic that racing will be okay for the weekend. They had a very wet night yesterday morning, and it has been dry all day. It has improved. It is forecast to be dry all night as well. So he's hoping for more improvement in that. The second fence down the back straight has been taken out. Just there was a bit of a false patch there. So, but he said it's reasonably consistent. So he's optimistic. So let's hope it gets through today's inspection.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. So we'll kick on into the 3:35, which is the Flying Bolt Novices Chase, named after that great champion chaser. This is a difficult race. I just think that Jacob's Ladder is the most solid. An official rating of 151. His form ties in with a horse that my dad has called Pure Steel, which I think is quite a good horse. And I know he'll handle the ground. He's no price. Are you going to be with him, or are you going to oppose him?
I think it's hard to go against him. Good performance last time, handicap experience. I suppose there's a line of form through on Port Julian where Jacob's Ladder beat Caroline Bamboo 4.5 lengths, and Port Julian beat Caroline Bamboo 1.25 lengths. Port Julian did struggle on heavy ground his first start of the season, but did win a maiden before on heavy ground the previous season. So has form on the ground, but I do think Jacob's Ladder just has the edge through experience as well, and that's going to count for a lot in testing conditions. So I'm with you, Jen.
Okay. Yeah, I it's unoriginal and a very short price, but a winner is a winner is a winner. Hopefully, the Webster Cup then later on in the card. It's a small field. I think I actually found a 50 might run at Cheltenham. He's running here with Saint Sam, James Duburley, and Better Days Ahead. What kind of angle are you approaching this race with?
I think Gordon's thinking of the championship, maybe grabbing a prize at home instead of chasing place money in Cheltenham. I thought Found a 50, he's solid. He had St. Sam, 3/4 of a length, 3 3/4 lengths so behind him in Fairyhouse at Easter last year on heavy ground. So he has form against St. Sam, or sorry, 3/4 of a length, and he was giving him £4 on the day. Um, I think obviously Found the 50's recent form through the season has been good. He was well beaten by Magsborough last time on very soft ground at Leopardstown, but I think that could be a compliment to what Magsborough is capable of in those conditions. So I don't think Found the 50 necessarily ran a desperate race that day, and I think he will take beating here.
Yeah, I agree. So they're the two for our two feature races this weekend. You have been on pretty impressive form. You're with your naps. It was Range Clare West last week under a vintage Paul Townend. So let's see what the prices for our two selections are this weekend. Our naps for the weekend ahead. We don't have our usual DK. We are bringing in Sam Norris instead as a super sub. I'm sure this is the highlight of his week. So let's get Sam on board to see what prices we can get about our two selections.
Yeah, highlight of the week is an understatement. Absolute pleasure to speak to you guys ahead of a busy weekend, both sides of the Irish Sea. Fingers crossed we get the go ahead, obviously in Ireland.
Yeah, well, we hope it's a busy weekend, Sam. It's every weekend is a busy weekend for you. So Barry and I, well, particularly Barry, has a very good record with his naps. And generally when this podcast goes live, the price collapses. So Barry, I'm going to hand it to you. Who's your nap this weekend?
Yeah, Found a 50 is my nap at Navan on Saturday. He's got good course form. He's 2 from 2 over fences, beating Dino Blue and Solness on those two occasions. And to me, he still ran a credible race behind Magsborough last time. So I'm going with Found a 50.
I think the traders have learned their lesson a bit trying to take on Barry's naps as well. Last couple of weeks, that hasn't gone very well for us, trying to lay the Barry nap. We're 5-6 about Found a 50 this week, so taking no chances this time around. I liked him as well. You mentioned the Navan record. Another thing that he's got on side, he's 5 from 5 in Grade 2 company through the course of his career. He's maybe not quite at Grade 1 level, but in this kind of grade against this kind of opposition, James de Burley's only won a couple of times over fences. St. Sam pulled up on his seasonal debut. Better days ahead, might be going longer trips again further down the line. So, yeah, I could definitely see Found a 50 running a big race this week. He's probably at fair price at 5-6, to be fair, in this kind of company against these three.
I think he could. I think he could shorten as well, but good to hear a bit of confidence this week in my choice.
Well, I'd say my price is going to be even shorter. So what I'm hoping Sam is going to do for me is he's going to give us a double. Can you tell me what Jacob's ladder is in the novice chase? Because he's the one. I think we're both quite sweet on him.
Yeah, just 4-9 Jacob's ladder. So you're right, he is shorter than Found a 50. I thought he might open up a bit closer to even money, but again, he's got rock solid credentials, much like Barry's pick has Jacob's ladder. If they do end up sending Kapajai Pike to the Arkle, which I don't know if they are going to now, but this would obviously be a little bit of a form boost in that regard. As one races either side of that, he probably only needs to match what he did at the DRF to win this race. If he builds on it, then he could win it very well. He should have the beating of Port Julian on a line through Caroline Bamboo. Both horses have beaten that rival to varying degrees this season. So yeah, he looks to have an outstanding chance as well. I thought you were going to ask for an enhancement on it to start with, Jane, and I was going to say I do not have that power. As powerful as I am, I can't turn 40.
I don't believe that. I think you can give us 2-1 about the double, to be honest.
The double at the moment is north of 6-4. So I think that's solid because
Barry, I thought we had connections in William Hill.
Yeah, maybe bring back DK, I'd say, Jen.
You know the wrong guy. DK can get these things done. I can't.
Oh, well. Okay, so it's 6-4 about the double and odds on both horses otherwise. Okay, well, thanks very much, Sam. Don't forget that if you like the sound of some of our picks this weekend, you can combine them in a racing bet builder that William Hill have the best builder out there. So check it out. It's on the app, it's online, on the website. You can get building your bets for Navan and hopefully it'll be on. We'll wrap it there. That's it for today. If you've enjoyed the podcast, if you would like to subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. We're on all of the social media. You can leave us a comment. You can tell us what you like. You can tell us what you don't like, but be kind. And you won't want to miss next week because as we mentioned earlier on the podcast, we're going to sit down with David Casey. Barry rode against him. I'm an admirer of his judgment, and I think he's a huge asset to the Willie Mullins team. I'm really looking forward to that chat, Barry.
Definitely. No, I look forward to that. David is always has been a mind of information since he was a writer all the way through, and he's a big player on the background team in Willie Mullins. So he has a big say in a lot of the decisions that go there.
And as always, for the very best prices, if you haven't already done so, download the William Hill app. And of course, please gamble responsibly. We shall see you all next week.